Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Index Office Hours. Today is the 28th of May, and this is Index Office Hours 159. Almost at that 160 mark. Very exciting. So for those who, thank you, thank you. We love a round of applause. We really appreciate that. That's very kind. So for those of you who are new to Index Office Hours, this is the town square where ecosystem participants come together and discuss the most important and relevant topics for indexers. This is a conversation. We love participation, so please do get involved in the text box in the corner or via voice. And if you're having any challenges unmuting your mic, let me know and I'll get that sorted for you. As a reminder, this is a session that's going to be recorded and posted onto public channels like YouTube. So if you are concerned about privacy, please bear that in mind. And with that, let's get into today's exciting agenda. So, as always, I give a shout out to the latest GRT IQ episode, and today is no different. I'll be shouting out GRT IQ episode 170 with Joe Pisani. And Joe is the CEO and co-founder of Luna Crush, which is a lending platform that leverages social media analytics to provide insights across many markets, including cryptocurrencies. So, if you're interested to hear more about Luna Crush and also a bit about his Joe's background, he's a bit of an entrepreneur. He's spent a lot of time in the world of finance and technology. Working in various different for their various different companies, building various different companies of his own as well. So if you're interested in his backstory and also learning a little bit more about Luna Crush, then feel free to go ahead and check it out. And as always, Juan is there with the agenda as well as the GRTIQ episode. Thank you, sir. Alrighty, now I will hand over to Anna for our regularly scheduled Repo Watch section.
Thank you, Abel. Hello, everyone. Okay, so...
Oh, I thought your audio was out there, but yeah, all good.
Yeah, you can hear me okay, yeah?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. Okay, so today on execution layer clients for Repo Watch, we have had a new Avalanche release. This is version 1.11.6, and it includes a lot of executing blocks in bootstrapping. So overall, this release improves the experience of bootstrapping Avalanche, so please check it out. Then we have had a new release on on Arbitrum Nitro. This is release number 2.4.0 beta 1, which includes improvements to Arbitrum Stylus and includes some fixes. So fixes of the data poster nonce check, fixes of signed saturation math function, and a few others. Important here, if you are a validator, there are details in the release of how to run these new versions. You have to run a separate validation node, so please check out those instructions. Similarly, there's another release here. This is version 2.4.0, release candidate 1, which allows a 0x prefix for allowed WASM module roots flag. It implements tracing and CPU profiling of long-running block creations, and it also creates streams in Redis clients, as well as a poll on the Redis server. Heimdall has had a new release. This is version 1.0.6, which contains a fix for the milestone checkpoint module. Nimbus on the consensus layer clients have had 2 new releases. So version 24.5.0, which is a low urgency release with stability, performance, and builder API improvement. And then version 24.5.1, which is the same as the previous version, with but it addresses a compatibility issue with certain hardware that the previous version would not properly launch. So if you haven't updated Nimbus, skip straight to the latest one. And then on GraphNode, we have had a new release for subgraph radio. This is version 1.06 alpha 1. This is all. I'll quickly check.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention for those doing Polygon, Aragon 2.60.0 is broken, so stay on 259.3 until 260.1 is released. Aragon team just confirmed this like 2 hours ago.
Thank you very much for that addition. Yeah, that's very important. And anyone thinking Aragon 3, getting weird ones on Aragon 3 in it? I'm not sure. Anyone here? Also on Aragon 3, my understanding was that there wasn't yet Aragon 3 release. I need to double check that, but there isn't
There's
an
no
official
release,
release
but
yet.
if you run the main or the devil branch, well, the devil branch renamed into main, assuming, but basically that's the Aragon 3, but there's no official releases yet.
In that case, very bleeding edge, yeah, indeed. Okay, well, this is all I have. Keep us posted, Payne, with how you're getting on, and over to you, Juan.
Yeah, we'll do.
Thanks, Anna. Okay, so we're gonna start with Protocol Watch. It's a short one this week. First of all, we got firm governance. We have the ad support for OPBNB thread. There's, I think it's starting with the network integration phase currently, so that's great. For firm research, we don't have new updates since last IOH. Moving on to contracts repository, we have a few updates to some PRs for Horizon, slashing Horizon delegation, as well as the main Graph Horizon work in progress branch. A few merge PRs like adding the linked list library and staking unit testing and revamp for staking. Not that much more aside from the Horizon work. For the network subgraphs, we do have a quite important update, which is the analytics subgraph B1.1.0 was released, which includes performance improvements and a final fix for the latest issues with analytics subgraph, which plagued most, if not all, of the UIs that were relying on it. It is already deployed on production to all of the hosted service endpoints. We will be hopefully deploying it soon to the network too. But for the most part, we are also going to be releasing a postmortem on it. Sorry, a postmortem on the issue with a few details on what we did to improve the performance and what were the causes as far as we could identify it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Protocol Watch. So I'm gonna be handing over to Abel now. Wonderful. So now we are very fortunate to have some folks from the Streamfast team here with us, and they're going to tell us all about a recent announcement. Oh, before we do that, there seems to be a question here from Marc-Andre. What's the one? Asking about the word on the street for the next graph node release. There seems to be a fire hose bug. Okay. Yeah, do you want to share more on that, Marc-Andre, with a link? Okay. All right. Well, I'll let that chat continue in the chat box there while we move on to the next subject, and then maybe we can revisit that later. So we have, yeah, like I said, the Streamfast team here to tell us about their latest announcements. So we already got the screen share going. So without further ado, let's go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my name is Sinol. I am a developer relations engineer in the Streaming Fast team. I'm just here to introduce the latest development that we deployed last week, and it's about indexes, right? So basically, we have deployed a new kind of module type that you can use in substreams. Now we have maps, we have stores, and we have technically called block filters, right? And you can think about block filters as indexes, because that's what they are really, in terms of, if you think about a database, that's what they really look like. And let's see, with an example I have here, the documentation, then you can read it over. You can get more information about it. I know some of you have already been working with it. So we're also looking for feedback. So any feedback is welcomed. But the problem we are trying to solve with indexes is the fact of not consuming not unnecessary data. So let's say we have here 3 blocks with their corresponding events, and let's say we want to specifically look for events whose addresses are CD2 whatever. Well, before in substreams you will have to go through every of these blocks, right? Iterate over all the blocks and finding out if this block actually contains the event address you're looking for. Well, what we've come up with is like a way to create a kind of cache for every block, of potential data that could be in that block that you're looking for, and having that cache look before actually decoding the block data. So in this case, instead of going through every block here looking for this event address, what you would have is like this cache for every block of data that you have. And before actually decoding the block itself, with all the information that the full block gets, well, you take a look at the cache data. You actually look for the event, and if it's there in the cache, that event is going to be contained within the block. And if it's not, you simply skip the block, right? So this is a way of reducing the amount of data that you read, and this is also a way of reducing the speed, because you don't actually have to spend time decoding the specific block that does not contain the event you're looking for. This is a graphical view of how you can see it. In a hierarchy, well, you have the source block, you have a mapper which gets all the events. You have the index event module that is going to index all the events of that block, right? Is through the address of the event, and then you can consume that index event module through through another mapper, which is called filter events, and you can add here the filters for that event. So here in this case, you're looking for events with addresses of this kind, right? So you will be basically skipping all the blocks that do not contain either this address, events with this address, or events with this other address. That's the basic functionality behind the new index modules. We are so glad to have announced this, as we believe that this is going to help indexes a lot. We've seen massive improvements from specific modules, right? And we are always looking for feedback. So if you try it out, just let us know. And well, any questions you may have, I'll try to answer.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, folks in the chat, feel free to fire away with questions.
I think the most important thing for indexers to note is that you don't have to change anything. It just works. So this is just gonna load data into the cache that you've already configured for substreams. So really easy from a DevOps perspective. Do nothing.
I guess this documentation is more for developers, right? Looking to index their stuff.
Right, exactly. So
thank you. Thank you for giving like the perspective of a of an indexer.
Yeah, but I think this is, to be good for indexers to be, aware of this so that they can promote to the developers, these capabilities, so it'll reduce the load on the indexers. So that's going to be key here. It also, I was talking to Yarrow earlier today. He's been playing around with this a lot. He was saying now you can write substreams without writing any Rust code, because if you've built the code correctly, you can just pass it as query parameters to do, you know, and or ors or whatever. So it makes it makes substreams much more accessible to the average user compared to having to write Rust code. So this is an excellent, tool set.
We have actually some questions about disk space. I don't know if Matthew, you have some information about it. If you've played with it.
Yeah. So well, just looking at what Yarrow was trying out yesterday, it was writing more data than it was reading when he was building the indexes. So we have to look at what it's doing. Maybe it's just a counting issue, or maybe, I don't know. Don't know yet. Good question, but need to investigate.
A few people seem to be typing in the chat, and we've got a couple of questions. So do you want to have a look, at the chat?
Yeah, does the index cache persist between packet version change of the substreams? Well, I'm not really sure about this one. I mean, not really, because you're consuming a specific version of that module, right? That's a module specifically that you're consuming. If you don't change it, the cache shouldn't be cleared. So yeah, I could assume, yeah, it does.
Yeah, I mean, the key thing is not the recompiling the
Exactly.
filter from source code.
Exactly, because like it's like a different module that you're importing, right? So yeah, I assume no problem there.
Awesome. We got another question from Chris saying, how much disk space do Bloom filters take?
Yeah, this is the one we were discussing before. We don't have the data yet. But from my indexer point of view, that would be really nice to know. So if someone has data on this, like someone starts indexing, and using substreams, and starts getting all this information, we will be like so glad to get this information. But I think we currently don't have data on this. But I can get back to you. I will ask the team, and okay, I will back to you.
Gotcha. Thanks. We got some more questions from Chris in the chat as well.
Yeah, but some specific use cases where this index is resulting in greater speed up. Well, I mean, like for like this is generalized for any blockchain, right? So for instance, for Solana, which has like a big raw block, right, that require that gets a lot of information, I guess it would be so useful, right? Not actually decoding the block if the data is not there. So for a specific chains like Solana, I guess it would be like super useful. And then this other one, when it's indexes upload. Yeah, I mean, like the indexes are totally up to you. I mean, these are just keys that you put in a cache like store, right? So whenever you want to create the module, you are actually selecting which specific data you want to index, which specific data you want to include in the store. So yeah, sure, no problem about you can index any data that that is contained within the data model. Well, Solana indexes, I mean, like this is a general tool. Like it will work on any blockchain, right? This is a new kind of module that we are creating, and it's generalized for working on both Solana or Ethereum or Injective or whatever. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, actually, Matthew, you're right. Solana was first. Because actually, for Solana, we wanted to get rid of all the known voting transactions. Sorry, all the voting transactions, because like in Solana, like 98% of the transactions are voting transactions, which are useless for most developers. So actually, yes, Solana actually was the first one. And I think that's all, right? Any more questions?
Yes, we've got another question from Chris saying, "What's next?"
What's next on a streaming fast, you mean, or in general in the meeting? On a streaming fast, we are working on no code solutions that we'll be presenting very soon. We are working on more chain adoption, and yeah, basically we are trying, to breach substreams to subgraphs. Trying for this process to be as smooth as possible. And there will be massive improvements in no code generation in the upcoming months. We are going to start with Injective that we are currently working on, and this will be like propagated to all the other chains and new integrations that we are going to have. So exciting. Paying. I cannot answer that question. Sorry.
No
But I'll
worries.
try. I'll try. I'll try to pass it to the team. Okay.
I see a question here from Pilly asking, "Anyone tried this new feature? Uh, excited to hear more early feedback." Is that in reference to what was just announced with Streaming Fast, or is this something else that I've missed? Okay, got it. Yeah, keen for more people to play around with it and share. That would be pretty cool. Um, yeah, and we can always revisit the topic as well if people have more insights that they can that they'd like to share as well. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much to Enol and the Stream Fast team for sharing that update there. So in terms of next items on the agenda, we did have an item that we were going to speak to today, which is this one here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the white paper here, which is a massive update, as you can imagine, for the ecosystem. But it was announced just today. And one of the fears that we had internally was that folks hadn't had a chance to actually go ahead and read the white paper and understand the whole concept that is being brought forward here in such a short period of time, which is why yeah, it's been decided that perhaps next week is the time to have this discussion. And as Billy said in comical fashion, you all have homework for next week to read the white paper, because we have the folks internally coming along to speak about this in greater detail next week. But I'm curious. I mean, folks, it's obviously big news, and so folks, I'd imagine folks are pretty quick at getting onto the news. Yeah, what do people think about it? Only skim the white paper, but maybe next week's could hear more about expectations. Yeah, exactly. That's the plan. That's the plan. I mean, we were going to do a massive session today. Like it was going to be a big part of today's session, but obviously came out a bit later than we expected. And so we figured it would make sense to give indexes time to actually read this and come up with some thoughts and maybe questions, and then recircle. But actually, I think what would be a really good opportunity today would be to get a bunch of questions. So if folks want, oh geez, so here we go. We've got another whiteboard here. I'm going to create a new one, and IOH AI services questions. So I think, yeah, what would be a really good idea would be to get started with questions. So if folks want to add a little post-it note with some questions, thoughts, that kind of stuff, we can get going in terms of curating some of that. Because I think in the past we've heard from speakers who come to Index office hours that they would appreciate it if people spent the time to kind of like have some questions beforehand. So this actually be a good opportunity to gather some questions. So Marc-Andre, I guess your one is a good start. You would like to hear more about what this means for indexers, expectations towards indexers. Do you have any more thoughts on that? Any additional things you want to add to that question there? I see typing. I'm just going to add it here. And then we got another one from Chris as well. As indexers, we should what should we expect as entry requirements to participate in the initial department? Okay, that's a really good question. That's a phenomenal one. We'll add that here. Appreciate that. Keep them coming. I think this set of these set of questions would be really useful in terms of shaping this session, because there's obviously a lot to break down in this like huge announcement. I love the gifts. We're already starting with the gifts. That's great. Let me just put it over here. There you go. Yeah, that will obviously shape the session. So yeah, if folks have more questions, fire away either in the chat, or feel free to unmute the mic and just share. Matthew seems to have posted. Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate that, Matthew. I see a few people typing. Yes, indexers start buying GPUs. We are in the age of AI. Okay, some additional context. What will be the first step to getting started? What sort of equipment should we produce? More precise timeline. Looks like we have to start planning some investments, so any details, timelines would be useful. Also, anyone had a chance to experiment, could share some primers, that would be useful. I don't want to wait for the perfect lunch to... Yes, that's great. That's really, really good. I'm just going to go ahead and grab that and post that here. I'm putting it here on the board so that I can return to the board after this call and make sure that it's shared with the right people. But if anyone wants to create a card as well, it's very straightforward. You have a little post-it note icon in the bottom, and you can just grab it and click it, and then click anywhere, and then that creates a post-it. Okay. Let's see. So it would be great if we had someone from Semiotic to give an overview of the AI services in the white paper. Not everyone will be able to understand and read the white paper beforehand. Yeah. Okay. That was the plan. So we had some folks on from Semiotic who are going to come today and discuss the AI services, discuss some various parts of the white paper. Yeah, in fact, the more I think about this, it's actually quite a big announcement. So maybe we can get Annie and Sam to break up the content into multiple sessions so that we make sure everyone's questions are answered. That's a really good point, Chris. Just gonna grab a note and make sure to uh, write that as well. Okay, perfect. And then Payne asked the question, are we prioritizing CPUs over GPUs? Some LLMs need CPUs instead of GPUs. Okay, got it. That's a good question to ask the team. We'll make sure to get that answered for you in the presentation. Yeah, keep them coming. This is great. I see Marc-Andre posting in relation to Aragon, so I'll leave that conversation there. Is RAM important? I suppose not, but worth asking. Same question for storage. Okay, great. Amazing.
I think the inference device, whether using CPU or GPU, probably doesn't really matter. Like it's being able to serve requests for the model. And you could either do that with, GPUs and GPU VRAM, or with CPUs and RAM. But obviously the memory bandwidth of GPU VRAM is a lot higher than even DDR5 RAM. So inference speeds will just be much better on a GPU. And my understanding is that the major bottleneck constraining inference speed is memory bandwidth. But yeah, as long as you can produce inference requests for the model, I think that it is an interesting question about the market, though, right? Because if you have two indexers, one running CPU plus RAM and another running a GPU cluster, both might be able to serve requests for the model, but with very different performance characteristics, and presumably you would want that to be reflected in the price or in the selection algorithm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Appreciate the extra context there. Oh, did I interrupt someone? Oh, someone seems to have their mic unmuted. Awesome. Yeah, yeah. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out from a market perspective. Yeah.
Mickey asks a minor coordination question. How can indexers engage with semiotic on troubleshooting support? I would say we should create a Discord channel specifically for running AI stuff, and have someone or multiple people from semiotic read and be active in that channel. That would be the easiest way.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, Mickey, as far as I'm aware, you are part of the support coordination team. So uh, do you have any recommendations there? I agree with Payne. I think Discord is probably the easiest because everyone's there. But I believe there's some effort to centralize. This is a dirty word. To coordinate support. So yeah, do you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Sweet. Yeah, so I guess I am interested in a solution that works best for you guys and for semiotic. I think given indexers, there will be many other users of agency and anything else semiotic puts out. So I think I love the suggestion of creating a new channel for that. I think that makes a lot of sense. Certainly my support team can monitor that and help field any questions related to EdgeNode side of things, which really isn't much in this case. But I do think just understanding, my question was more about making sure we all understand where you guys can get support, and just having that decided on and codified. I'm totally happy to ask Paolo to set up a channel and get that going in Discord. So that should be a pretty easy lift for us. And then what was the other part? Oh, it like centralizing support. That definitely is not our goal. Our goal is more about providing effective support across a decentralized ecosystem, which is a challenge in and of itself. And so we're trying to figure out how do we implement tooling to improve support across the board in general, not just for Edge and Node support team members, but for example, pin access support or GraphOps support. So we are playing around with some tooling now. We basically created a way for people to generate Zendesk tickets. Currently, our Edge and Node support team members do have full seats. Happy to add team members from other core devs as light agents if you guys don't have funding for a full seat, or we can talk about a grant or something. But that's just sort of a quick and dirty solution since we needed a ticketing system. We did a very quick analysis of options and bought some Zendesk seats. I don't know that that'll be a long-term solution as we scale. Support across other core dev team members, but that's my little ramble there. So yeah, it's not so much about centralizing support, but rather figuring out the right tooling.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Apologies for using the dirty word of centralization. Yeah, makes sense. Marc-Andre mentioned here support. We need to build critical mass somewhere with devs, users, indexes. Discord's probably the best place. Yeah, I agree. I think that's the overwhelming consensus that Discord is the place to go for support. Yeah, because everyone is already there. And yeah, the support coordination team has done a great job of putting together this ticketing system as well. Okay, cool, awesome. Any other questions in relation to this? Because I want to make sure that we get a bunch of questions here for the team before going into next week's session. Because yeah, the more we can guide them with questions, the better the session will work for you guys. So please fire away more questions. And yeah, thanks for sharing the tweet there. Payne is having fun with the sticky over there.
It wasn't me that flipped it now. I flipped it once, but not now.
Okay.
No, I know who it is.
My bad. My bad. All right, let me flip it around now. There you go. That's funny. Okay, I think we should pivot to another topic. Okay. Cool. Well, okay. Seems to be a lot of folks having fun with that sticky. Yeah. So that's for next week. We did also have another topic that we were going to speak to today from Pedro about the new CIP process and some new updates with new chains. But he's asked to postpone that for not next week, but well, next week. But I think I'm gonna get that done for the week after, seeing we already have a big topic coming next week. So yeah, I mean, it's unusual to have two sessions cancel last minute, two slots cancel last minute, but we make do with what we have. We try and make the best of the situation. And so this has been really useful. We'll definitely forward this on to the team in terms of questions for next week. Let's see. So
Maybe I'll ask Payne.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, Payne, that like substreams needs to be more bare metal friendly. Can you talk more about that? And I think there have been some improvements to substreams lately with the tier 2 nodes and like things being a lot less manual than they were before in terms of orchestration.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've noticed when I was playing around with Bitcoin substreams a while ago was the fact that each of those substreams is tied to a default number of jobs, right? So you can't modify the number of jobs per substream. You just have a global one that should basically fit all the substreams that you have running. The moment you restart the graph node, basically the substream will reprocess the last X amount of blocks that are still. I don't know the exact thing to call it, but like it reprocesses a bunch of blocks, and the minimum number of jobs per substream, well, globally you can attach is 1. So as long as you have, then like that's basically one CPU core, so more or less. The moment you have more substreams running on the same system at once, when you restart the graph node, that moment, then the number of cores that you have on the system, basically that moment you're blowing up your entire infrastructure, basically. If that makes any sense. So we need a way to control the number of core, like jobs or like cores per substream, not globally. Or I don't know. I don't know any way around this thing other than this.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know whether Matthew or anyone from Pinax can comment on their experience of operating substreams and that particular limitation.
Sure, I can try to jump in there. Yeah, so running substreams is a little challenging. One of the issues is substreams are not equal. So you could have a substream that requires a pile of CPU and a little bit of RAM, or a substream that requires a pile of RAM and less CPU. And so, trying to optimize the hardware, I mean, this applies whether you're on cloud or bare metal, is trying to optimize the, how many threads or workers, as they're called, can I run on this piece of hardware? It's hard to get that number right. When we started, we were, 64 gigs of RAM for whatever number of workers, 12 workers or something was. We thought, oh, well, that seems like reasonable. Then we ran into some. Anyway, we've added a lot more RAM compared to what we started with in Pinax. But to Payne's point, I think there needs to be more work about being able to adjust the number of workers to a specific subgraph on the fly. So that's really my feature request as well, is being able to on the fly change the number of workers. So currently that cannot be done. The only place you can fiddle with the number of workers is at the start when the substream starts. That's not out of the box. You have to write a custom mod. You can write some custom code with the metering plugin to change the rates on the fly, but it doesn't let you change it at runtime. So I have created a GitHub request with some suggestions to make it if we put in 25 knobs, that's fine, but that still doesn't really make it easy for indexers, right? So what we really need is more substreams itself to figure out what is the correct option and automatically apply it for us so we don't have to think about it. So I did create a GitHub issue, trying to suggest, the number of workers to number of, for example, stores, a ratio, and then adjust things that way. So the Bitcoin substream is very heavy, the ordinals one, because it's doing a lot of processing RAM in order to build up the model and send it back to the user. So that one's very, very, very RAM heavy compared to other substreams. So there's definitely more work to do here. I appreciate people's input. Obviously, you can take it directly to Streaming Fast. Doesn't have to go to me. But yeah, there's definitely some. Hopefully, we can have some improvements in this area. Yeah, I can find the feature. It should be in the substreams repo in Streaming Fast. If you look there, it should be over there. The other thing Chris mentioned is managing the tier 2 nodes is much easier. That is true if you've separated your Firehose stack. So I think a lot of indexers have set up, Firehose like all in one, where you're running the reader, the relayer, the merger, substreams tier 1, substreams tier 2, all in a single, binary. That's fine, except it doesn't really scale well when you have a lot of things you need to scale. So really you want to pull the substreams tier 2 piece out of that stack. I mean, you can pull them all apart if you want, but at least pull the substreams tier 2 piece out, because then the substreams tier 2 can be shared across all of your, the different blockchains that you're running. So you're running Ethereum mainnet, Solana, whatever ones you want to happen to do. Then we can share Polygon, BSC, whatever. All those can share a single cluster of tier 2 nodes, which, if you're on bare metal, you can just create, containers or dedicate a specific machine to those. But no matter if the load comes from Polygon or if it comes from BSC, they'll go to the same set of hardware. So that has made it for us, we're still managing things on LXC containers. For us, that works great. Now we have a set of machines. Those just run substreams tier 2. Whatever happens to come in goes to that set of nodes. So much easier than trying to, if we're running 25 blockchains, have 25 sets of nodes and then try to balance that across the machine. It's totally impossible on bare metal. So if you're not aware of this architecture, feel free to reach out to me, and happy to talk about it. So I would, if you're going to run a lot of substreams, I would definitely recommend pull the substreams tier 2 out of the rest of the configuration you have for Firehose and run it separately. And we can have more IOH sessions on Firehose and substreams. If you guys are interested, just let me know what topics you want to talk about, and I'm happy to present. And maybe we'll get Data Nexus Vince to talk about Firehose Helm charts, substreams Helm charts that he's been working on.
That would be awesome. I'm gonna.
Did I say Data Nexus? I meant Notify.
Oh, Notify. Okay.
I was trying to get, distinguish. We have too many Vinces here, so.
Exactly, Vince galore. That would be really cool. Oh yeah, Link Nate seems to want to know where those charts are. So if you want to link either Matthew or is Notify here?
Yeah, Vince is there.
Yeah, Vince is here. Vince, you can feel free to link that there. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. So, working with the Launchpad team and GraphOps to make sure these can integrate well with the rest of the GraphOps stack. Launchpad.
We love to hear that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Seeing as Matthew's offered, would folks like to hear more about Firehose, and if so, what specific thing would you like to discuss? Obviously, we've discussed the charts, but anything else people want to hear about in relation to Firehose? See Vince is typing. Yes, if you say Vince 3 times, the chart does appear. And hey presto, the chart has appeared. Thanks for sharing, Vince. Yes, we'll get those links into the agenda too as well. Thanks for sharing, Vince. Oh, was that something there, Matthew? I'm sorry if I interrupted.
No, this was just me trying to find the issues that I referred to earlier. So that's one from August, where we want to dynamically change the substreams tier 1 and tier 2 request. One I opened a week ago has to do with versioning. So if you're going to separate the substreams tier 1 from the tier 2, then they need a well-defined versioning protocol between them, so the tier 1 and the tier 2 don't get all confused. And I'm trying to find the other one that I mentioned earlier. So I have a lot. String Fast knows this.
Perfect.
I can't find it right now. It's somewhere.
All good, all good. When you do, feel free to share it. And either share it in the chat or send it over to me, and then I'll get it into the agenda after the chat as well. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that there. And as Pili's also mentioned, grab your POAPs. Luckily, there is no puzzle that we have to do in order to get the POAPs, so it's very straightforward. So feel free to go grab those with the secret word there. Seeing as we're coming to the final 5 minutes, is there any additional topics that people want to cover or discuss? Especially as we have a session next week that is going to be quite meaty and quite fun. Oh, another one. Great. Awesome. I'm adding these to the agenda. Thanks for sharing. That's all. Okay, great. See few people typing. I will ask again just to make sure that we've covered everything. Any final thoughts, questions, topics before we wrap today's conversation? Alrighty. Well, in that case, I want to say a special thank you to each and every one of you for showing up today and providing all the answers, all the questions, thoughts, topics, listening in, tuning in, asking your questions, and just generally partaking in the call. We very much appreciate it. I'll make sure to get these questions to the team for next week. And yeah, this was great. I'm glad we were able to make sure that this was a useful session for you guys. And we'll make sure to manage cancellations in the future and make sure that everything goes smoothly. Okay, wonderful. Thanks, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you again, same time next week. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week, guys. Bye-bye.